All right, going live in three, two, one. This is the Anna Hummel Factor. We're up to episode number 15, if you can believe that right now. How are you
Woo!
doing, Anna?
I am doing great. I had a fantastic weekend. So I'm still kind of buzzing off that. And this weekend, my dad is actually coming out from California to come visit. So I'm excited to see him and hang out. So got a lot of cool stuff, going on right now. So I have just been I've been in a elevated mood, I'd say.
So, what was so exciting about the previous weekend? Anything that you could share?
Of course, yeah. So Bubba the Love Sponge has a sister, and her and I have recently become friends, and then not only good friends, but like kind of we call ourselves like sister girls. Like we've just been. She's kind of like the older sister I never had. I'm kind of like the younger sister she never had, and she has just kind of taken me under her wing and invited me to her house. And she has like this beautiful house, probably about 30 minutes away from where I live, and just treated me to this like amazing weekend. She's doing really well. She started a company and she's killing it. So she took me for a manicure and a pedicure, and I've only had one pedicure in my entire life. So this was only the second one I've ever had ever. So that was like such a treat for me. And then we had wine, we went out to dinner. I spent the night at her place. She has like this beautiful, like big house. And I don't know. So it was just such a phenomenally great weekend to connect, especially with another woman, because I work with, all men. I always have for the last 5 years. So sometimes around women, I feel like I don't know how to act right, and a different side of me obviously comes out when you're around women versus men. Even if you're a guy or you're a girl, obviously you're going to be different sides of you will come out with different people. So it's just been really nice to kind of like find my femininity again, because I have a lot of girlfriends, but I don't see them very often. I see my male coworkers every single day. So it's just been really fun and really cool to connect with her. And she gets it. She gets the business. She gets the insanity. But she's not to the point where she's desensitized by it. So when I'm telling her about all this like crazy shit that's happening at work, she's like, "No, this is crazy. Like you are living in crazy town. Don't think this is normal." So like that kind of helps me sometimes when shit's hitting the fan and I'm like, "Is this normal?" She's like, "No, no, you should be freaking out." I'm like, "Okay, good," because I am. So that's just kind of the relationship we've had. And even though there's this, like a 17-year gap between us, I feel like we are. She has like a young sort of energy about her, and she's just has so much energy in general. And she's always inviting me to stuff. So it's just been really cool to have her, in my life now. So
Hmm, that's cool. I can honestly say I've never had a pedicure, so I would not be able to.
okay,
I
yeah.
don't
I mean,
I don't think I want one either. So,
they're really nice and they feel really good, and they like massage your legs and stuff. And I'm certainly not against it, but I'm always like, oh, I can just paint my own nails. Like I don't need to spend all this money for someone to do it for me. Obviously, they do a much better job, and it's not something I would treat myself to ever. I've had two pedicures and they were both gifts. So I've actually never paid for one myself, but it was just so fun, a treat for me. So it was a great weekend.
that's cool.
So,
But
yeah.
you said manicure as well?
I actually didn't have a manicure. I
Oh,
misspoke. I have a problem. I'm actually doing it right now where I'm biting my nails, which is so disgusting. It's a horrendous habit that I'm not trying hard enough to quit, but my nails are just too short to do anything. They're like almost to the bone. So it's just a nervous habit I have. I don't even want to call it nervous. It's just something that I like. It's like idle hands. It's kind of like a tick almost, like where people like shake their leg. They can't sit still. It's the same thing. Like fingers go in my mouth to the point where my coworkers, because um, we're on Twitch live, so there's cameras on us, and my coworkers will literally message me like through our little. It's not I like aim or anything, but it's like a inter coworker sort of. We're able to communicate with each other on the computer, and they'll often be like, "Get your hands out of your fucking mouth." I'm like, "Oh shit!" I don't even realize I'm doing it. So, because I'm on camera and my hands are just fucking, which is so bizarre because I am such a germaphobe, you know. And your hands are like the dirtiest fucking part of your body, and they're going right in my fucking mouth, which is like the second dirtiest part of my body. So I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is so disgusting. So I need to start working on that shit.
Get yourself a pair of nail clippers. That might work.
How would that work?
Well, then you would be you'd be clipping them that way. You wouldn't put them in your mouth anymore. You would have the keep the germs away from your mouth. You then basically, just I'm just trying to find a way to keep the germs away. That's all. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I have nail clippers. I use them, for my toes and stuff because I'm not biting my toenails. But as far as like my nails never get long, my fingernails never get long. But if they get like anywhere where I can kind of like pick under them, then I just start biting,
right.
and it's gross. And then there'll be like a week where I don't really do it, and I'm like, oh, my nails grew out, and then I'm like, back to zero. So
The I don't know. I'm not a nail biter myself, so maybe when I was a kid I used to do something like that, but I kind of
it's
grew out of it.
disgusting
So
habit. I hate myself for it. I really do. I really do.
the interesting part is that you say you don't even know you're doing it, which is kind of interesting. So the
Yeah.
is it all I'm just curious, do you ever paint your fingernails at all?
No, no. When they were a little bit like when I think I did a while ago when they would get a little bit longer so it wouldn't look like a kid is painting, her skin. Because at this point, if I painted my nails, it would just look like I painted like the skin on my nails, on my fingers. But I used to, and I used to think that that would help because then I would be conscious of, the paint in my mouth.
Right. That's
But
what
then
I
when
was
that got in the way of biting, I just stopped painting that. You know what I mean? It's disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of leading up to. Some way to help you stop the since you obviously it sounds like you want to stop this. I was just trying to think. That's why I came to nail clippers first. I'm thinking, they make ones for fingers, and then like maybe painting them might help. I don't know. I can't think of any other way except
No,
for
painting is probably the best way to go, but I just have to get them long enough where it doesn't look insane. Because if you could imagine like a kid painting, like first of all, my nail bed, like my nails are very small. Like I see these women, especially who have these like larger nail beds, and so when they do their nails, it like looks like something. With me, I just have these like tiny little, like it's almost like a claw to paw ratio on a cat. Like they're just these tiny little nails,
hmm.
and then I just feel like they look fucking weird. So I don't know. It's a problem I've dealt with since childhood. There's been times where I haven't been very bad, but it seems like even if I quit for a couple months, it just always comes back and then with a vengeance. And it's right now it's pretty fucking bad. So.
The you could would you ever think of wearing gloves?
Well, I mean, it's summer in Florida, so I mean that would probably be uncomfortable, and I'd look like a weirdo, which I'm
Well,
not against,
I mean,
but
not necessarily gloves that would be for warmth. I mean, you could.
uh,
I mean, there could be something out there that would have. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there isn't anything that's stylish. Like, I'm thinking that there are some gloves out there that could be wear any time of the year is what I'm thinking of. So
well, I mean, maybe if this was like, the 1920s where I could wear like a pair of white gloves or something, but I think it would just look fucking weird with a t-shirt and like gym shorts and like white gloves. I mean, I appreciate the brainstorming because it's definitely a disgusting habit that I'm not proud of. And it's so weird because it's literally not hypocritical, but well, kind of, but I'm just such a germaphobe. So it's like, if you're such a germaphobe, how the fuck are your fingers getting in your mouth? And the answer is like, I don't know. It's just a fucking bad habit that I picked up, and I just do it all the time. I think my parents bit their nails. I think my mom did. So I think I kind of saw that growing up and just kind of did it as well.
So, well, at least, like you said earlier, at least you don't bite your toenails. I've seen people do that. That's probably that's gonna be more disgusting than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think I've like tried when I was a kid and I was like flexible, but obviously now as an adult, I'm mostly wearing closed-toed shoes, and that is would be disgusting. So no, I haven't done that.
Oh,
So grateful for that.
you said what kind of shoes are you wearing? I missed that part. Sorry. Closed?
Mostly closed-toed
Oh,
shoes, so it's
closed-toed
not
shoes.
like
Okay,
my nails are exposed or anything.
gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The on the TV show Red Dwarf, which is a I don't really watch it very much, but there is a scene where I forget the character's name was they had him actually chewing his own toenails off.
Oh,
It was for
so
comedic
no.
effect, of course. So, but Red Dwarf was a comedy show about space, about outer space. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So all right. Well, would you like to look at our question from last week? Do you remember what that was?
I don't remember. As soon as I see it, obviously I will, but
All right. It was about fat phobic.
yes, yes, yes.
All
So
right, bring it up.
healthcare, yeah.
Yes. So here we go. Um, can you see that? Okay, I didn't check to make sure. You should be able.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I got it. Perfect.
Okay, good. All right. Of course, I had a typo in there, but I'll just read it anyway. It says, "Is it fat phobic for your doctor to tell you to lose weight for health purposes?" And a whopping 78% said yes, with only 22% saying no.
Oh wow. I feel like they're trolling us.
So yeah, some of the comments were, well, at least I didn't read all of them, but the one I'm going to go through the comments. But um, I the as far as this fat phobic thing, I mean, you seem to be more obsessed with the whole idea. I just thought it was just not a big deal. But what is your obsession with the fat phobic thing? I'm just curious.
Um, so I like to think of myself as a pretty fitness centric person, although if anyone were to take a snapshot of my life, I hope they wouldn't use today as an example because I did eat like a pint of ice cream by myself. Nevertheless, sometimes we just, need to indulge a little bit. But most days I'm pretty on my game. I'm pretty health conscious. I'm pretty fitness centric. So I've always just been interested in like health, fitness, blah blah blah. So, and I also think that my upbringing, I hate throwing my dad under the bus like this, but my dad had like this weird, not fixation, but he always thought fat people were like really funny, like to laugh at growing up. It was never hidden, like, oh, you should treat everybody with respect and everyone's beautiful. Like, my dad would happily openly laugh at, I mean, not to their face, but to me as a child, like, oh my god, look at that fat person, that's so funny, look at them trying to walk. And he was especially like fixated with like fat women. I think he would just be like, how does like a woman who, if she takes care of herself, has like such a beautiful physique, how can they let themselves go to the point where they look like fucking Humpty Dumpty? And growing up, and I dealt with like body image issues my entire life. Again, not trying to blame people, but it just explaining what happened. um my parents, both of them individually, not even together, both told me separately that um if I ever got married, again, dad told me this on my own, mom told me this on my own. If I ever got married, don't let yourself get fat. Like, do not let yourself get fat. Don't let yourself go. As a small child, like, maybe 11, 12, around that age. So I was always very fearful of like being fat. And like, I always thought being fat was funny because my dad would watch like The Biggest Loser and we would watch it together and he'd call them,
What's what's hold on? The Biggest Loser is that you have to explain. Is that a TV show?
yeah, it was like a TV show. I mean, there's probably been like 10 seasons. I started watching it when it first came out with my dad, and my dad thought it was so funny. Basically, it's like a bunch of fat people and they compete to lose the most weight. That's the premise of the show.
Okay.
Um, and my dad would call them like, "Oh, let's watch Big Fat Loser." So that was like always a joke, like, "Oh, we're gonna instead of The Biggest Loser, like Big Fat Loser." So I was just always kind of like, and my mom dealt with body image issues as like a dancer. Like, she was like a not a stripper, but like, she did ballet, tap, jazz, all that shit. And when she was in college and she was dancing, she acquired an eating disorder. Like, go figure. It was like she was in dance and it was the fucking 70s. So like, what did you expect? And so, and my dad has always been like extremely athletic. My mom was always very athletic. So basically just like a fitness centered family. So then, I see the body positivity movement coming through, and my brain has been wired from early childhood to think that like being fat is gross, like, and not chubby, not thick, like that's fine. I have no problem with. I see tons of women. Let's talk about women specifically who are like thick and they're beautiful and they have curves and it's great. I mean, we are talking like people who are trying to kill themselves. Okay, like not a little chunky, not could stand to lose 30, 40, even 50 pounds. I mean, we're talking about people who need to lose 100 pounds or more. Okay, so not like your average thick person, someone who has a problem. And so when I started seeing the body positivity movement kind of bubble up, probably like 7 years ago, is probably like when it really first kind of started taking um gaining traction and stuff, where it was like you're beautiful no matter what, and you started seeing people like Tess Holiday come out, who's like a supermodel, but she's legit like almost 4 bills, like she's fucking huge. And I just thought that this was such a like a funny odd thing. Then I started to get accustomed to the fact that, like, okay, people can think whatever's beautiful, it's subjective in the eye of the beholder, fine. Started to accept that. Then I started seeing like a separate movement, but related movement with like fat activism and health. So it's like, okay, if you want to claim that you're beautiful and you're big, fine, okay. But then when you start trying to insert those feelings of beauty into like a health paradigm, saying, no, not only am I fucking gorgeous, 400 pounds, but I'm actually really healthy. And you don't know because, you're not my doctor. And I would say, if I were to have a conversation with these people, okay, but I also have eyeballs, okay? Like, you don't have a neck anymore. Like, that's a problem. So,
Or neck, or maybe like a double chin, maybe.
not even a double chin. Again, like the people that I'm follow and that I'm interested in aren't like people who are a little overweight. I mean, we are talking like massive, massive people, and I'm
Hold on, wait. You're following people that are massively overweight? Is that what you said? Is that what you're saying? Or
like
am
on
I?
Instagram, on
Okay.
Instagram, not
Okay.
like around town. um, yeah, so I follow them on social media, and I'm so interested by their justification for things, especially health. So I totally get if you want to say you're beautiful. I've, kind of really expanded my mind a little bit, and, especially with my own body kind of, I don't want to call it a transformation, but changes. I mean, I had problems where, I mean, I was so thin I wasn't, getting a period for almost a year. Like I certainly had problems. I had problems where I mean,
Is that even possible? I didn't know. I'm sorry. I
oh
don't know
yeah,
anything.
yeah, it's called
Wow.
amenorrhea. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut you off. You said what? You was what?
It's called amenorrhea, where
Oh,
your body. So basically, you have to be a certain. You have to have a certain threshold of health and body fat to sustain a pregnancy, right? As a woman, if you're too thin and your body can't handle it, your body goes into survival mode and like cuts off your reproduction. So if you're, say, anorexic, which I was never anorexic, but I was definitely like orthorexic and like dabbled with bulimia, but just had very unhealthy habits to the point where, I mean, I was low body fat and to the point where I stopped having a period. So your body is basically shutting down your reproductive system, saying, hey, we don't have enough energy to sustain a pregnancy. So we're going to shut down ovulation and we're going to just try put all of our resources into, keeping this body alive. And then once we gain some more fat or kind of just stabilize. I know a lot of people get amenorrhea when they're like really stressed out, maybe, but mostly it's got to do with your body composition. When a woman, like you'll see these bodybuilders or people who do these like bikini competitions, when
that's
they get,
yeah, go
sorry,
ahead. I'm sorry. You're going to be up to the female bodybuilders. I usually find that kind of disgusting looking, but go ahead.
yeah, no, no, but the bodybuilding is not just like bodybuilders. There's like bikini, physique, figure, like there's different levels. So
Okay.
yeah, the bodybuilders I don't really follow so much, but it's all in the umbrella of bodybuilding, if that makes sense. Like the bodybuilders that are women are they're definitely using like steroids, but the ones that I follow, the bikini models, they're they don't take any steroids or anything like that. They just get down to a very, 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 very low body fat percentage. We're talking maybe even single digits, maybe 12%, which is way too low for a female, and many of them will not have a period.
Hmm.
So,
That's it. I didn't know that. Okay, gotcha.
yeah,
That my knowledge of that is now. I guess I'm more knowledgeable now. I don't
yeah.
know how to respond to that. So, go ahead.
So I stopped having a period for there were multiple bouts of amenorrhea, but the longest one was the first one, and it was almost 9 months, which is not good. And I actually got a DEXA scan, which is it's basically just like this scan that you get, and it's the gold standard for measuring your bone density. It also measures lean body mass, so not fatty, not fat, and also your body fat composition, but also lean mass and bone density. It's really accurate. So I got this test done about 2 years ago. Now I lift weights pretty regularly, which helps with bone density. I have a pretty balanced diet. I like I said, I work out, I eat healthy. My bone density is absolute fucking shit.
Hmm.
It's bad. I have to take calcium every day because my bone density is so bad. And when I
Good. I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you for a second about the
yeah
calcium? You brought the calcium, and you had discussed that with me about my issue with the kidney stones, and I was one of the
yeah
things I learned with kidney stones. I don't know if I was just kind of curious if you deal with the calcium intake. Do you take calcium that's already in something, or do you take calcium tablets, or how do you do that? I'm just curious.
tablets.
Okay. I just want to say when I was trying to figure out how to deal with my issue with the kidney stones. One of the things they said was not to take the tablets because that can actually cause problems. You should take calcium that's actually in something else.
Uh,
Um,
like
y- and if you
soluble, I guess.
yeah, like what I drink kefir. I don't know if I told you that before. So that has calcium in it. It has a lot of calcium in it. So
Okay.
um, the or if you can't, I'm not sure if this is for you, would work for you or not. It might be, maybe you're fine with this, I don't know, but they say if you take calcium too much, that can actually create problems
I'm
with
just
certain.
taking a daily dose. Like I'm not, whatever recommended dose it is, I just take one a day. So I don't
Gotcha.
think yeah. But, and I
The
don't have any sort of kidney stone issues in my family, or I've never experienced anything. But if I did, I certainly would, reassess and do something
well,
different.
it might not just, I don't think it was just for kidney stones, I think it was for
Oh,
calcium in general. So that's I'm just curious how you're handling it. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just curious how you were dealing with that,
oh
that's all.
yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I
the
got this
was
test done. Yeah, go ahead.
what was the other thing I was told that if you wanted to take calcium and you had to take pills, was it was recommended that you actually mix it with something so it gets mixed in with the food.
Mm.
So it's not just a one big mix of calcium altogether. It gets mixed together with the food, and that's supposed to help it somehow. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. So I did
I'll
plan on.
I'll check that out. Yeah, I take it with food, but it's just a pill, if that makes sense.
Right.
Um, so I went and got this DEXA scan done. I was really excited. I wanted to see what my body fat percentage was. I wanted to see what my lean mass was. I wanted to see what my bone density was, and my bone density was so bad, well below average. And I asked the guy who was administering the test, and he's like, "Yeah, your bone density is really low." And I just said, listen, about 12 years ago, I did a lot of dumb shit where I was underfeeding, malnourished, overexercising, and I didn't have a period for 9 months, and then I would have a period for a year, and then I wouldn't have it for 3 months, and then I'd have it for a year, and then I wouldn't have it for 4 months. I go, could that have affected, the bone density issue? He goes, that's probably what it is. He's like, 100%. And I'm like, what? I was so fucking mad at myself because a few years when I was young, I was stupid. I didn't know what I was doing. But basically, when your body gets that low body fat and you stop having a period, you stop secreting certain hormones. So
Mhm.
I probably wasn't producing enough estrogen or progesterone because I wasn't ovulating, and then that fucks with your bone density. So basically, long story short, I fucked myself over badly.
So it's permanent. I mean, are you able to get out of this? I know you say you work out a lot. You do it on a daily basis or something, right? I mean, is that helping you?
Well, I don't know because I haven't had a second DEXA scan. That was like 2 years ago. So I guess the only way, he said I could come back and get it tested again after I just started taking calcium supplements and see if that helped at all. So, hopefully in like the next year I can go back and get a scan and kind of see the progress, if any. Thankfully, I have a pretty good amount of muscle on my body, so that like if I were to fall, I would have enough muscle to sustain a fall. But obviously, as you get older, especially, you don't want fucking brittle bones. That's
Mhm.
that's not going to be good. So, it's just unfortunate that something I did when I was like 19, 20 is going to possibly affect me for the rest of my life because of a few dumb years. He
Right.
said the same happens with bodybuilders as well. They have really bad bone density for the same reason. They train to the point of being so fucking lean that they don't have a period, and then that fucks up with their hormones, and then they end up with a similar situation as myself. So
Okay.
yeah,
But while you were talking, I didn't know if you're looking at the screen, but I brought up
yeah,
the Biggest Loser. So,
yeah. It's pretty fun
um,
show. I mean, and they do it on purpose. Like they are trying to make it entertaining, but it's obviously they put them in a lot of embarrassing situations. Yeah, like that's where Jillian Michaels got famous, the one in the center, the
um, oh,
bra.
right. This one right
Yeah,
here.
she's like a
Oh,
celebrity trainer. That's where
okay.
she first got famous. She's still pretty popular.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say this. I told you I lost over, I think it's over 80 pounds now, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
the, I was up to 225, and I do know that people that had never seen me before started saying, when I was working on the Grease Man show, people would always comment. I'd bring in junk food and say, "You never put on any weight. What's with that?" And I was still close to my college. I mean, my high school weight, very 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 light.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, what happened was I started working. I was at full time in radio at that point, and before that, I was doing more physical type jobs. Whereas when I got into radio full time, then all of a sudden I was just sitting around. So my body just started to, I just, my body changed, my metabolism changed. I started to put on a lot of weight. And then people who I'd never met about 10 years ago were saying, you don't look too overweight. So it's like, it was the exact opposite. People started saying that I looked, I was putting on a little bit. And one person who had known me way back when I was working in the 90s, when he and I were working at Shadow, he said he saw me recently. He said, "Yeah, you're definitely putting on some weight there, dude." So,
Oh
uh,
shit.
it was kind of funny because I didn't realize that I had put on that much weight. And the and then when I actually weighed myself, and I was 220. Well, I was at the doctor's office and they weighed me. I was like 225. Like, I couldn't believe how much I had weighed.
That
So
is crazy. And how can I ask how tall you are?
5'8".
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty heavy for a 5'8" person.
Yeah. And I the now I'm nowhere near that weight. So it's,
Yeah,
I've
you said you're like 150, 160 now or something?
yeah, around that. Yeah, well, yeah. So I look pretty, I think I look pretty, pretty moderate. So it's not
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was but yeah, it was kind of funny. I guess I never worked out, but it's like I said, I had jobs before that were very physical, and I guess that's what kept me mostly. I guess because, like
Yeah.
I said, but people would always comment how I ate nothing but junk food all the time, and they were like, "How do you do that?" And
It's a metabolism thing. Yeah.
what's that?
It's just your metabolism. You're kind of, I guess, blessed, at least when you were younger, with a very fast metabolism.
Yeah, yeah, and and that's all I did was I junk. It's like I'd eat 7-Eleven, go to 7-Eleven, get one of their cheeseburger hot dogs, and big bag of M&Ms, sodas, big 2-liter bottles of sodas, and just crank everything down. So that's all I ever ate. So,
Yeah,
uh,
there's one of the co-hosts on my show. He's a doctor, and he's pretty fucking lean, like super lean, really thin, and all he does is just eat absolute trash. Like he has like 12 monsters a day, like no joke, like 8 monsters a day.
wait,
Um,
what's Monsters? What's that?
like the energy drink.
Oh, okay. I
He
never I never heard of that.
smokes. He
Wait, he's a doctor and he smokes?
oh
Really?
yeah, I think a lot of doctors smoke actually. Um,
Interesting.
he smokes. He eats absolute shit. Like all he has is sugar to the point where he barely sleeps. So he goes to bed probably like because he has like 3 different jobs. So he does the radio twice a week. So in the mornings on Monday, he does radio. He's up at 5 in the morning, does radio, then goes to the office. He's a plastic surgeon. has either some consultations or does a few surgeries, and then he's also a lawyer, and then he has to go to the law office and like do some paperwork like every day. So he goes to bed at like probably 11 or 12 at night. So he says he usually gets like 4 hours of sleep. He wakes up in the middle of the night to like go to the bathroom, and then when he wakes up, he's like, "Oh my god, I'm really hungry," and he smashes just like Oreos, Pop Tarts, popsicles, candy, and then literally goes straight to bed. I'm like, how the
How
fuck
old
do you
is
go
he?
to bed with all that sugar in your system?
How old is he? I'm just curious. Is he
55.
okay? Okay.
And he's like, it's kind of fucked up, but he looks amazing. Like, it's fucked up. But again, anybody else who would have that lifestyle would look like absolute fucking hell. So like I was telling you, it's a genetic thing. So like if you were eating like shit and you weren't getting fat, you just have kind of like a blessed metabolism. That's all.
Right. And like I said, I was also doing less physical. I was very physical. I mean, before, and then it went to just being
Right.
sitting
But
around
honestly,
every.
like you can't out train a bad diet. Even if you're like kind of physical, if you're eating like shit, you will still get fat. So I think probably like something same with me, like as you get older, your hormones change, and that can really affect how you put on weight. So I think, in combination with you being more sedentary, I think that it was also just like an age factor as well that you started putting on weight. So
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was, yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, when I'm in radio, I'm just sitting behind a microphone all the time or sitting behind or doing production or whatever. So I was
yeah,
very, very rarely moving around anymore.
right.
So I mean, it was before I was, I told you very much when I was much younger, I used to work on cars. And then when I was going to school, after I stopped doing that, I started working as a courier. So I did that for a few years. It was before was going to college. And then that got a lot of, obviously with that, I was running around a lot and walking a lot. So, and then all of a sudden just came to an abrupt stop. So, and I think that was also a factor. I'm
Sure,
guessing.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's look at these answers here. So, let's see. Number one, well, the first one down says, I love all GTA San Andreas comments. The next one down says, what the fuck is happening with the 78% of people? So I was curious about that myself. The, okay, CJ, damn, I'm just big boned doctor. That's all. Okay. That's a line from the video game. I don't know if you know, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is the only I believe I'm pretty sure about this, is the only San Andreas game where you can actually get your character to be either skinny or fat in the game.
Oh,
So when the game starts off, he's really tiny and very puny and very skinny. He can eat lots of food and get up to a very, 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 very fat. And so what happens is when and he also can be very muscular too. So you can change not only his body weight, but his muscular physique as well. So
interesting.
the and the line that he's showing there says, "Damn, I'm just big boned," and that says Doctor. So well, in the game, if you get him fat, people start insulting him. He'll say like, what happens is the other characters in the game interact with him on the street, and they'll say insulting things to him because he's overweight. And so
Oh.
one of the things he'll respond back is, I'm just big boned," or something like that.
Okay, I get you.
So these are definitely a lot of San Andreas. Well, a few of them anyway. Even Big Smoke would say no to this question. Okay, Big Smoke is a character in the game as well. He's very large, so he's very, very large, very fat. Americans be like, fat phobic isn't even a real word, just for someone to use as an excuse to eat so fucking much where they can't move. Let's see. How do you feel about those people that are just so big that they can't move? You ever seen those people?
Of course I have. Yeah. Just they're immobile.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for them certainly, but I mean, if I'd be lying if I said it wasn't like a little bit funny.
Well, there was several years ago. I was listening to another radio show, and there was a guy who was living in he got so big that he got to a point where he just couldn't get out of his car, so he just started living in his car all the time. That's all he did.
Oh my
And
god. Go to the bathroom.
that was the first thing I thought of. I'm thinking to myself that his pants were probably full of the most amount of shit you could possibly think of. Um, he said he never got out of his car until one day he had some sort of an accident. He drove off the roadway, and then the rescue people came in, took him into the hospital. So,
Okay.
I'm just thinking, God, that the people that had to pull his pants off are probably like, oh, you know, that
But
must
no,
have
I mean,
been,
there's just no way. I mean, if it was like months, like he wasn't just was he just shitting in his pants? Like I don't think that that was.
that he said he couldn't get out of his car. He was stuck in his car.
Oh
So
God, I
uh,
don't know. I don't even know.
that's the funny part is the people who were interviewing him on the show didn't even ask that question, which was you and I had the very first thing. What about
Of
going
course,
to the bathroom? That's like,
I'm thinking like, what do you absolutely have to get out of the car for? It's like, okay, you don't necessarily have to shower. That'd be disgusting, but like, you have to go to the bathroom. So how does that work?
yeah. I mean that seat in that car and his pants and his clothing. Yeah, it's.
Oh
Uh,
my.
I would maybe the urine itself probably burned through the seat. He's probably sitting on
Yeah,
screen.
I'm like, how does that work?
So anyway, it's like maybe we shouldn't be thinking about that. It's kind of a disgusting thought. Let's see. Corn. Oh, this is it's Spanish. Sorry, I can't read Spanish. Um, why would it's actually about that? Okay, that's really he's not really asking anything about the question there. Right now, I wish I would stop existing. Okay, I'm not sure
Oh,
why.
good.
Why is everyone saying yes? Am I missing something here? Yeah, I think you are because we all are here. So I, I just hope there's so many trolls on yes, like you were saying before. So uh, no, they're just trying to help you. What do you think about that?
They're just trying to help you. I agree. I think the healthcare professionals are just trying to help you. You shouldn't be, calling them bigoted or,
Okay.
scientist or whatever.
All right. No, it's not. Fat phobia is when you bully someone or disseminate. Is that right? I'm saying right?
Right?
Because they are overweight. It's not fear, it's disgust. Okay. The definition fat phobic is being used loosely. Fat phobic means someone hates you and tries to hurt you because you're Y-O-U-R fat. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't I would say maybe I'm trying to read that. Hold on. It doesn't someone giving you advice, okay, it's just not written very well, to lose weight for a better lifestyle or a longer life. Okay. I'll go. Let's skip past that one. My hope for humanity is decreasing drastically. Okay.
As it should.
No, no, but at this time, no one gives it an F. We're in our first final in 55 years. I don't know what that means. Okay. No, it's literally a life-saving concern. I don't know. That's another Spanish one, I think. There's a difference between having a few more pounds and being a meatball uh, propense of getting a heart attack. I,
Propensity, maybe?
I guess. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I like the heart attack thing. I've heard that before. Like, um, the
Well, you're at increased risk for everything: heart disease, diabetes, obviously, cancer. Just forget about even like those sorts of things, but just like your joints. Like obviously, it's going to be a lot harder on your body to sustain like a 400-pound weight. Think about it. Like every time you take a fucking step, that's 400 pounds on your knee. So
Mhm.
you think about just like joint deterioration, you're more prone to injury. If you fall, it's like fucking game over. You know what I mean? You and I fall, it's like, oh, we scratch our knee. If have you ever seen a really fat person fall? I mean, we're talking about broken bones. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I actually, I'm glad you brought that up. My cat who died, she died in January 2019.
Mhm.
But when she was
Sorry to
12 years,
hear
yeah, she was my buddy too, so I miss her a
that.
lot. But when she was 12 years old, up until she was 12 years old, she was very fit, very slim, and very stealthy. She could walk past me, and I wouldn't even know that she went past me. That's how stealthy she was.
Okay.
But when she turned 12, she had her uterus got infected, and I thought she turned pregnant because it was her. I never got her fixed, and her belly just swelled up. So I took her to the vet to see what was going on. They said no, she wasn't pregnant. She had a pound of pus in her uterus.
Oh my god.
So they took it out and they fixed her so she couldn't get pregnant anymore. And after that, she was only like she was very, like I said, very slim, very sleek, probably like 7 pounds maybe. Um, After that, she went up to about like 12, 13 pounds, so almost double her weight. She lost the stealth. She couldn't run past me anymore. And you're talking about, when you're falling down, when she jumped, I mean, she could barely, when she jumped down off of a tabletop or something, she would lose her balance so fast, like, because she was now, all that extra weight was just there. And that was
Why
only like,
why did she gain so much weight? You said they took it out. Did she have a tumor or something?
no, no. Whenever you get a cat fixed, or I know with females, I don't know if it's with males, but I know with females, they put on a lot of weight automatically.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's a common thing. It's just they just put on weight for. I don't know what the reason is, but
Probably got to do with like hormones or something.
I guess, yeah. I know it's happened with with my family members had female cats. I don't know if like I said, it might happen with male cats too. I'm not sure, but the vet even told me that to expect the weight increase. She said it's very common. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's basically she put almost double. She almost doubled her weight, and I could see it in her. I mean, that was she was just a little tiny cat, and she could barely. She could still walk around and everything, but it was very obvious that her body was just not meant. It was a cat that she was meant to be like 7 or 8 pounds at the most, and now she's all this extra weight, and it just wasn't designed for that. And
Right.
and I could imagine, like you're talking like these people that get up to like 400 pounds. It's like they're how they even able to walk around without just breaking a bone by just taking a footstep.
100%. And it's really funny because like if you're throwing around that kind of weight, like number one, much like you said about the cat being 7 or 8 pounds, obviously humans have a range. We're not all the same size, but no human, I don't care how tall or big they are, is meant to be 400 pounds. Humans just aren't meant to kind of carry or more. You see these people like 600, 800 pounds. The human body is not made to sustain that sort of weight. So obviously you're going to see a lot of degeneration. You're going to see a lot of, bone fractures and things like that. I mean, and some of them probably don't even break bones at a certain point because they're just immobile, like we were talking about. But what was I going to say? Something about, yeah, just not sustaining that weight. And I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but certainly not a healthy lifestyle. But kind of going back to our original point, I can stomach the I'm beautiful, you're beautiful, we're all beautiful together no matter what size. Fine. But when you start trying to interject that narrative into like science by saying not only am I beautiful but I'm healthy, when clearly like you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor, but we can both look at the same person and go, that's an unhealthy person because they're an adult female and they weigh 70 pounds. And you can look and say, that's also not a healthy person. They're 600 pounds, adult male, 6 feet tall. Like, we don't need a fucking, doctorate. We don't need to go to medical school for 8 years to know that that's not a healthy body. And a lot of people say like, well, you're not a doctor. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but I have eyeballs. Like, I can see you and I can see that you're struggling to fucking breathe. You're not fucking healthy. So the fact that now they're going, and it's not even people who are bullying them. I understand saying, hey, don't bully me. Don't be mean to me. But now they're going after like the medical field and saying that these people are now bullies, which is so funny to me because it's like you are going to them because you're having an issue with your health, whatever it may be. Their response is, you'd probably be better off if you lose weight. And then you turn around and you go, fuck you. I'm not listening to you, even though I came to you because you're an expert in your field. So I just think that that's really funny to me.
Bring up the talk about the heavy labored breathing. Did I tell you about one of the people who used to work with me? His name was Sean Hall. Did I tell you about him?
I think you did, and I think you told me that he died.
Yeah, he died in a car accident. Yeah, but
Related to
yeah,
that. Okay, but yeah, okay.
yeah, but before that, he and I used to work at WTOP, and he was he'd been doing news since I was like 3 years old. I mean, he was really good news person. Anyway, when we worked at WTOP, we didn't really talk very much. We didn't really get along that well, but that changed when he started working for me though. But he when he'd walk around WTOP, he had an extremely labored breath, and he was very much overweight. So, and it was very obvious that, like you're saying, the labored part. It was like and he'd walk in with like a big gulp, 7-Eleven big gulp, and all the other junk food. Like I come in too with that, but my body at that time I wasn't that bad. I was getting to the point. I told you I was getting there to the 225, but I hadn't quite gotten there yet. So, but he was he was definitely still just eating away the junk food. So,
but you know what? And this was my point earlier that I forgot was that these people who are really, really heavy certainly have like a lot of muscle mass as well. Because they think about all the, how much, like for you and I to get up off the couch and like go to the kitchen doesn't probably take that much effort. But imagine if you're like 500 pounds, every time you like my really, really fat coworker used to say every step is a rep. So for him to just like get out of the seat was like, I mean, he was throwing around like, close to 340 and he's probably like 5'9", so every time he would like sit on a toilet and get up, like that's a huge
Oh,
rep right there. You know what I mean? So he probably has a lot of muscle. I mean, he has a shit ton of fat, don't get me wrong, and he probably has really strong bones as well for the most part, just from carrying around that weight. So it is kind of funny that kind of like goes together because living is like a CrossFit workout every day. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So that not that was it really matters, but while we were talking, I looked up. I found a picture of my cat, so you can see what you're looking at.
Oh, the black one.
No, that's actually the old the boy. The one that was being the weight is the one on the right, the girl. So it's
The
hard
one
to
that
tell.
one that died though is the black one, right?
Well, they both died actually. They're both dead.
Oh
So
shit. Sorry. Well, the one that we were talking about was the
yeah,
stealth black.
the one on the right, you can see how her belly is kind of big compared to the other one.
Yeah.
So and she's a white she's a red point Siamese, which is kind of unique. It's from what I understand, it's I think
A
this is
rare breed.
not really. If you type in red point Siamese, you'll see a whole bunch on the internet. They're all
Oh.
over the place, but they're not really well known for some reason, I guess.
Oh.
But they're like a cross between like a regular Siamese, which is more of a grayish color, and a red tabby or an orange tabby. So
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, I was just wanted to see. You can see. Well, of course, the one on the left, the black one on the left. He was also kind of skinny. He just lost a lot of weight. So, I mean, but it's still you can see how big her belly was. I just wanted to show you. This was after she had the operation. So, anyway, all right. Let's see. 80% actually said yes to this. Jesus, good luck, humanity. What's it say? That's 8. I'm sorry. I need my reading glasses. I think it says 60%. He must have been early on, so the number must have changed around a little bit. So yeah, and I'm having trouble reading this. Okay, so I think the comments once again, we discussed this. The comments don't really seem to match the voting again. So
yeah,
I pose the theory that maybe some people. The reason that might be an issue. I discussed this with Olivia, I think, last evening, was that maybe it's because the people who are commenting see that the number that they're voting against is much higher. They can't figure it out, so they feel the need to comment. Whereas the people who are in the majority on the voting section just don't really care because they're already up there, so they don't feel a need to comment afterwards. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Or maybe there's just trolling out there. Who knows? So
I'm not sure, but it seems to be a reoccurring thing.
Yeah. So, all right. So you had a question you wanted to? Did you still remember we talked about this before? Want to ask that question that we were asking before the show?
Yeah, I mean, unless we can think of something that might be a bit less dry, but I know that Cuba's been in the news a lot in the last couple days because of all the protests that are going on, and the country is just absolutely shutting it down. And I know a lot of people are trying to move our country in that direction in terms of like having more socialist policies and having a socialist state. So I'm just curious to think, like, do people think socialism actually works?
So those Michael Moore movies that praise Cuba are not correct. I'm aghast.
I know. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's probably not accurate. They have universal health care, but it's universal shit health care. I saw videos coming out of Cuba where people were paying like $40 for like 4 diapers. Like, inflation is through the roof. Nobody can afford anything. The people are starving. And yet, like, there's still people like Bernie Sanders who are like, oh, this is all the US's fault because the US imposed a bunch of like tariffs and embargoes on Cuba for whatever reason.
I think they're still in effect too, right?
Yeah, there's still in effect. There's still things that I guess we're not doing trade with Cuba. I don't know how the limitations of that. To be honest with you, I probably should know. I don't. But what I do know is that Cuba is a shit place to live, and yet even though we can see on every part of the globe that has, is a socialist state, it's not working yet. It seems like there's a big movement here, a big push, especially from the left, to make it more of a socialist state. And people often bring up like Scandinavia. Those are not socialist countries. They have a lot of socialist policies. We have socialist policies like Social Security, like Medicare, like Medicaid. Like those are socialist policies, but we're not a socialist state. The government isn't in charge of small businesses and things like that, or even big businesses. Those entities are kind of free to operate on their own. That's not to say that there aren't like things that are cons of capitalism and stuff like that, and things that go wrong with that system. Surely there are. Obviously there's a lot of cronyism, there's a lot of corruption that goes along with capitalism. But you look at people in the United States, look at the homeless people. They're fat. Like I see fat homeless people all the time. If your homeless people are fat, like your country is rich. I don't care what anybody else tells you. If you go around and people are who don't have a home or overweight, then they are plenty fed, then you are living in a fucking rich country. So
I will say, you say communism doesn't work, but I do think that it may work on a very small scale. The example I could give would be, say, a commune. That was something that was pretty popular. I don't know if they still are nowadays, but especially during the 60s and into the 70s, people would live on communes together. And that was a very communist way of living. Socialism,
yeah, I mean, my dad lived on a kibbutz in Israel. That's essentially a commune.
The reason I think it works on it might work. I'm not an expert. I'm just spouting off here, but it's because it's all voluntary. People want to be there.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
It's not imposed by the state. People choose to live that way. That's a different situation. You've made the choice that you want to live in a more of a structured community where you have a common goal and you work to that. You're on a farm together, you have a crop that you harvest, whatever. That is exactly like you said. It is your choice. No one's forcing it on you. And if you choose that you have a good business idea and you want to leave and start your own business, you're free to do that, unless you're part of a cult and they kill you or something. But under normal circumstances, you should be able to leave at any time that you want. You can't just leave North Korea. You can't just leave Cuba, without repercussions. So.
Right. So yeah. I see the people on the right condemn any kind of socialism or communism, even at that scale, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a little, I can understand criticizing at the government level, but at smaller scale, I don't see why they do that. And that's where I kind of get turned off by the Republicans when they do that crap. So it's like, these people are obviously living, they're not, unless we don't know anything else. I mean, it seems to me that they're 100% voluntary. So why is that a problem with that? Why do the Republicans condemn it? I've seen Republicans, not all of them, I'm not saying all of them do that, but I've seen some of them, do that, condemn that. And I'm like, why? What are you afraid of? So what? It's a smaller version of a larger, something at a larger scale would be government run, which would be bad. But so what? I don't see what the problem is. So
I don't see. I think people are just, socialism and communism are such trigger words that people just like kick and scream whenever they hear them. I mean, I wouldn't even really call it communism because it's not really involving a government. It's like
right. Yeah. Go ahead. I threw that in there. I because with the word I said communism because it sounded like commune, but yeah, you're right. It is socialism.
Yeah. So I mean, conceivably, they shouldn't have a problem with that because they're all about freedom and liberty, right? And if that's how you want to live, then you should be able to do that. So libertarians certainly wouldn't have an issue with it. If that's how you want to live and you're free to leave and everybody's happy and it's all consensual, then like fucking happy days. But I mean, I know I certainly don't want to live that way.
Yeah, no, I don't want to live that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very much independent. I take care of myself, so I don't, it's not, I wouldn't want to be part of some other larger group. In fact, one person actually, I'm not going to say who, one time accused me of being too antisocial one time. So I guess I would definitely not fit in line with the a commune in any way. I'd probably be the one person would be like, I want out of here. Please let me go. So
yeah, and it's very antithetical to the kind of structure and foundation of our country. You know, you look at Eastern societies, Eastern cultures like China, Japan, it's very collectivist, right? It's all about the common good. And, you know, I mean, China's an extreme example, but nevertheless, like, that's kind of the final not the final, but, you know, one of the manifestations of when you take collectivism to the extreme, where it's all about the state, right? It's all about Mother China, and it's not about individuals, which is where's our society. Like, you have your own business. You know, I'm not thinking about America and what can I do for America. I'm like, fuck, what can I do for me? Like, I'm trying to make some fucking money, like, whatever. You know, so it's we live in an individualist society. So when you're trying to take these uh, communist ideals and kind of insert them into a country that was founded on, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, without a big fucking state like telling, you know, Big Brother telling you what to do every fucking day, people are going to rebel, and that's what we see kind of happening. But it is kind of scary to see that, you know, democratic socialism, which is not, it's just socialism. I don't know. It's like you're gonna, that it's weird to me. Like, you're going to elect, like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to democratically elect people to take over your lives? Then that doesn't seem like it'd be very democratic once they have control. So, whatever. Socialism, I really don't like, you know, taking from the rich and giving to the poor. I don't think redistribution works. I don't think it incentivizes anybody to make money, you know, and I'm not just saying that I'm completely against any sort of welfare net. You know, obviously there's some people at the very bottom of society that do fucking need help because they can't help themselves, 100%. But widening that, like, kind of what we see with unemployment, right? There was this big situation in Congress, like the, you know, House and the Senate, and also like locally in terms of each state, where, you know, your people aren't incentivized to work. So like in Florida, people were getting like $600 a week from the government. You know, that's been since, I think, like slash and half. But, you know, during the earlier days of the pandemic, if you were on unemployment, you were getting like $300 from the federal government and like $300 from the state government, right? And you're making $600 a week. Well, for a lot of people, you know, they were making less than $600 a week from their job. So why the fuck would I be motivated to go back to a job where I'm making less when I can just stay home and do nothing and make more? And I mean, my sister took advantage of that for a year in San Francisco. So I'm pretty sure millions of other people were doing the same thing, which is really, really scary, because then how do you fucking incentivize people? And then those people just kind of stay in that trap because they're always going to make more by doing less.
Mm-hmm.
And when you fuck with incentives and nobody wants to make money, then you have a real problem, because people don't want to go back to work, and obviously the economy and the country can't function if no one's going back to work. So
Yeah, I have to admit I am guilty of doing something similar. When I was, let's see, when I had to make a change in my life because I was jumping from job to job, just working on, this is many years ago. I was probably
yeah,
20. I was working at different shops, working on cars. The Well, I had the three licenses that are required for to do automobile inspections as well as emissions repair work on cars at one of the gas stations I was working at. The state police came in one day and shut that part of the program down for the shop I was in. So I lost my job. So it wasn't my fault. It had nothing to do with me. So at that point, I was so burned out from doing that kind of work. I decided to live off unemployment for 6 months. So I've always felt kind of guilty about that afterwards.
yeah.
So
But the thing is like, that's exactly what unemployment is for. It's a temporary fix, not a permanent solution. So I've been on unemployment before. I've been fired before, and, you know, needed a whatever. I've had a hiatus for a couple months where I didn't work. Everyone has, you know. I think everybody, for the most part, everybody's had a time or two where they were kind of drifting and didn't really know what they were doing, or between jobs or whatever. But when you're taking advantage of a system, I mean, we're talking about people who are in the system for fucking years and have no intention of getting off of it, and are spending well beyond their means and having more children, and every time they get another kid, they get another kickback from the government because of, you know, I can file this person as another dependent. So I mean, it's a situation that is getting fucking worse. Like, your best case scenario, you're on it for 6 months, you felt kind of guilty, you get off of it. You know what I mean? for other people, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, why would I go back to my job at McDonald's when I'm making more playing video games at home?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Unless it's video games.
Well, back then I didn't play video games at all. Not even the slightest. So, but yeah. So no, I was actually what had happened was that's when I got into radio. So it was like I had just gone into radio. I was doing some part-time work. So full time still working on cars, and part-time and full-time, like part-time radio, full-time working on cars. So I'd actually show up. I might have said this before. I'd actually show up at the radio station sometimes wearing my mechanic's outfit with my name
Oh yeah.
on my shirt and all that. So and one of the things I also learned early, I learned this early on, is never tell people that I know how to work on cars, because then I was always somebody that at any place I'd work at say, hey, can you car? Can you look at my car? Because they don't want to pay a shop to do it. They want me to just do it for free. So
Yeah.
I always kept quiet. I mean, saying it here is not a big deal because no one's, it's not a big, it's not a big deal. But and when I was working, go ahead, say it. What were you saying?
They don't know where to find you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and the what was it? When I was working at Clear Channel, I would talk about with one of the guys that worked there all the time, and I think he was trying to test me because we'd walk down. One time every once in a while we'd walk down, and he'd pop the hood on his vehicle, and he'd say, "What is this on his car?" Because I think he was trying to test me to see if I actually knew what the things were he was pointing at. I said, "Yeah, that's like," he was pointing at the master power brake booster on his master cylinder for his braking system. And I was like, "Yeah, that's that." I always wonder if maybe he was just testing me to see if I actually knew what I was talking about.
He probably was, yeah.
So, I mean, everything he pointed at, I could identify without any problem, so it wasn't like a big deal. But he never once came to me. He was a friend of mine, so I think he understood not to come to me to ask him to work on his car. So
yeah.
So what is how would you like to phrase this question? Communism is good. Socialism is good. I mean, socialism is what we're focusing on.
Do you think socialism can work?
Well, that's okay. I thought. Well, I didn't you want to phrase it? So, do you think the United States should be a socialist country, or did you want to?
I'm like rethinking the whole question about how I want to word it.
Okay.
Oh man, do you think socialism is a good idea for any country?
Okay. Oh, that's good. I do like that.
Okay.
You want to add like a little, if so, how kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. So, how would you want to? What would you want to do? How would you want the responses to be? Oh, I've spelled country. There we go. You think socialism is a good idea?
I mean, I guess. I was just gonna say like yes or no, but if you say if so, how? I mean, is there kind of like a box where they can make a comment?
Well, the comment section is below. So.
Oh, that's right. Duh. Yeah. So yeah, sure. I guess yes, no, maybe don't care or something,
Okay.
and then just say comment below.
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let me put the don't care. Don't care. Okay. I mean, we don't really need to add. I guess I could put over here. Answer in the comments. Whoops. Answer in the comment section. How's that look? Good?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Answer in the comment section. All right. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Socialism. Do you think socialism is a good idea? Oh, so socialism capitalized? Oh, it's too late now. So.
That's fine. People get it. I don't think it has to be capitalized.
Well, my philosophy has always been, and it hasn't changed really, is that it would be more. Have you ever watched the TV show Star Trek? Not the newer Star Treks, but the older Star Trek.
Oh, I haven't.
Okay, the philosophy of Star Trek, though it's very hypocritical because the guy who actually created Star Trek did not actually live this way, which is kind of weird that he would profess this kind of philosophy. He was very much a capitalist, and he wanted to make as much money as possible. The philosophy of Star Trek is they've eliminated money completely. Um, but it's not a socialistic country. It's a society. Earth has changed to the point where it's everyone is just there to better themselves and mankind in general. They're there to help each other, and it sounds like socialism, but it's not, because in a socialist society, you don't own your own things. So
Right.
that's where it differs, because in Star Trek they still own things. So they own their own vehicles, they own their own homes. They just don't have money anymore. So,
Right.
and they never quite explain how that would work exactly, of course. But a lot of people start to say that in the future in Star Trek it's all socialism, but it's obviously not, because just because they eliminated money and they're working for the betterment of mankind, that they would that makes it social. They don't see the whole picture, not looking at the whole picture. They're usually people that want to promote socialism. So but that would be something that would be I've always kind of strived for, something that would be like that. Do we eliminate the money aspect completely, and somehow, and I know it's not possible, and I can't think of any way that would be possible. But it wasn't Star Trek that influenced me either. It's just I'm just using that as an example because a lot of people have seen that, and that's probably the closest way I can come up with it. The idea.
Right.
So, and the idea that people would just work to better themselves and mankind and help each other and their fellow man and all that stuff. That's what I would like to have. But realistically, how would that be pulled off? I wouldn't even know. I'm not, you'd have people on one side, the capitalist side, saying that's not possible, and people on the social side, so that's not possible either. So,
Right.
but
It just seems like it's a thought experiment more so.
yeah, and I have, I have looked at the idea that capitalism in its purest form, I think Ron Paul made these kind of statements, is actually not a bad thing. It's just that the way the country runs it right now, it's not really capitalism anymore. It's becoming more like corporatism. So,
Right. Right.
and so what you have is the corporations controlling a lot, and that's not really that's not the true way of capitalism. So,
And
uh,
we're moving more so even beyond that, but like a technocracy, you know, where it seems like the governments are almost puppets to these massive corporations like Google, like Facebook, like Amazon. Well, especially the information sharing networks, where it's like, they don't seem to have any rules because technically they're a private company, so they have all these rights and all these loopholes where they can get away with stuff, but they're really the kind of conduits of information. So it's like nobody is going to MySpace anymore. Like everybody's going to Facebook, right, to exchange ideas. So if you start cutting people down on Facebook, the company says, well, we're a fucking private company and we can do whatever the fuck we want. But if that's the only game in town and that's the only way people are really communicating and getting their ideas across, or YouTube or something like that, and you're shutting those people down, then it becomes really dangerous because they've really monopolized the whole platform of, like, say, video sharing or information sharing. So nobody can really get their ideas out except through those platforms. Yet
no, it's
these,
not
like,
complete. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not completely shut down. I mean, it's not. You're saying the way to communication is completely shut down. That's not true, of course. So
well,
you
to
still
get out to the masses, obviously you can phone a friend or, text
well,
somebody.
you're forgetting one of the key things that you and I work in: radio. Radio is not affected by this.
But again, nobody's really listening. I mean, if we're talking, we're really moving away from like a terrestrial type dominant radio to a digital space, right? Like people are
I know, but
moving
you
away
said
from.
everything. I'm just saying that you said everything, and it's not. Radio is still there, and a lot of people still listen to radio, especially because, like, when Alex Jones was forced off, a lot of people listen to him on the radio now. So,
Yeah,
his
but he's not on like a terrestrial station. He's on the digital space.
is he?
And he's
I thought he's on,
digital
like, wasn't he
digital.
on? Is he on radio stations? I thought he
No,
was.
no. He's on like Infowars. He's like, you have to dig for that shit. You're not gonna be listening to like 94.1 FM and hear Alex Jones. Like that's not where you're gonna find him. And don't think just because you're on radio you can say whatever you want. I mean, like, you start becoming a liability and advertisers start dropping out because they don't like what you're saying. Your company will fucking fire you faster than you can say your own name. I've seen it happen before. You start fucking with the money. I mean, that's kind of why I got let go, because I was not that I was making money. Don't get me wrong, I was not. But if you start fucking with the money, where advertisers are saying, "Oh, you said something against trans people," well, we're not gonna advertise with you anymore. And that's how radio station, you know this, that's how radio stations make their money, is
I know.
not through gigs but through advertisers. So if the advertisers pull out because they're worried because they want to stay fucking woke, then and your guy is just like running his mouth about, you know, Proud Boys or, you know, whatever, BL, whatever it is, you know, they'll fucking take you down and fucking.
I know, but it's not as restrictive as the I mean, there's still people out there that are saying things. There are people that are encouraging it on the radio still. So I know it's not as
I
popular
would
as it was
say
say in the
so. I
90s.
would say so. And then here's the thing: is like a lot of times people police themselves, right? So it's like you see what happened to your buddy; he got removed. You don't want to get removed, so you just don't even talk about that anymore.
Wait, which
That
buddy?
happened. I mean,
Wait,
I was
wait, hold on.
called,
Hold on. Which buddy? I'm sorry.
huh? No,
You
I'm just
said
using that as an example.
I don't. Oh, you're not saying like an actual person then. You're just.
Well, I mean, there's people I've heard of. Like there was this guy who made like a stupid joke about, like, it was a joke
Oh,
about.
you mean like the grease man when he made the? Okay, I don't know what. I thought you were making a specific example with me. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, like, you know, I'm just saying people police themselves after they see the consequences that other people endure.
Okay.
So you see somebody get fired or suspended because of something they said, maybe it was a joke, like a racially charged joke, or, you know, I know a guy in San Diego who made a joke about suicide and his show got canceled. So, you know, um, when you see that sort of stuff happen, you don't need to be punished yourself to learn. You go, oh shit, that guy got fired for making a joke about, you know, making a flippant joke about suicide. Well, I'll just never talk about suicide, or I'll just never talk about Donald Trump, or I'll just never talk about BLM because I don't even want to fucking risk my job because I got a family to feed, and that's a legitimate concern. So it's strange where it's not. It's people are policing themselves. I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is like they have a few people they make examples out of, and then everybody else falls in line very easily. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
The very first thing you said was that it was basically the digital realm, and I was saying that radio is still there though. So that's my. I mean,
It is there, but like if you listen to radio now versus like radio even 10 years, 5 years ago, you know, but say especially like the 90s, I mean, people, the stuff that you would hear is unimaginable to be said now, you know? So, I mean, things are much more limited in terms of the scope of things you can say freely. So it is just kind of sad. Like you're right, but I mean, listen to the radio programs around. You're not going to hear a lot of spicy shit unless it's coming from one side, you know, which is the left, which is fine. Like you're able to shit on white straight men and no one's going to say anything. But you start shitting on black people, like you're going to get fired, you know. So,
you remember the Janet Jackson controversy?
yeah, with her tit out
Yeah.
on the Super Bowl and the FCC and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was it's basically that was when the right was doing all of it. Now it's switched over to the left. So
Isn't that interesting how it was kind of a flip flop?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The but I actually saw that like I didn't see it when it happened, but I did see it sometime afterwards. I was like, that was it. I mean, it just for like a split second. We're talking like you could see like a nipple for like a split second.
Yeah.
And that caused like such a major controversy for a while. I was like,
It did.
and I couldn't believe it was like, the radio at that time, what was that, 2002 or 2003, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, at the time I was already beyond the talk show aspect, so I was strictly just traffic and news. So it
Yeah.
didn't really affect what I was doing. Traffic and news
Right.
doesn't get affected by it. I mean, there's more straight laced there stuff, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't remember. Yeah, before that, I mean, I used to work I told you I worked at a conservative radio outlet for a while. There was a small network that they had access to a satellite feed, so they would do 24/7 conservative talk shows. I was always wondering what happened to them exactly, if they were on the which side they were on for the most part. Some of the people there were pretty decent. Some of the people they were just outright scumbags. So I was just curious if they would take the side for the censorship or against the censorship. I didn't really listen at the time, so I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. I do know that a lot of the Republicans seem to be so, we got to stop this, and because what was it? Bush was Bush in charge? I forget who was in charge.
Yeah, it was Bush. That was Bush.
Yeah, and he was one of the ones that was pushing this. We got to censor everything and all this, and it was just getting really stupid. I was barely listening to the shows I was listening to anymore. Because I was focusing on other things. But yeah, and nowadays it's not even the government that's censoring anymore. It's all just people on the left in general.
I know.
So
I know. 100%. It is strange how that flip flopped. It. I mean, the pendulum swings. We know each way, and then when it swings hard. But it just became like liberty. Being on the left was liberal, meaning like liberty, right? You should be free and all this stuff. And it seems like they took those ideals, they ran with them, and then they said, "Yeah, we're free. We can do whatever we want." And then they realized, like, but you need to be tolerant. It was like the left side was the tolerant side, but then became more of a draconian tolerance where it's like we don't accept anybody we deem intolerant. And
right.
then that's when everything started shutting down, and political correctness. And so it's so crazy that the left used to be kind of like the cool free side, and now the right is all about liberty, freedom. You should be able to say whatever the fuck you want. And the left has become, they've literally switched places. The left, instead of it, they are secular, they're secular evangelicals, you know,
Mhm.
where the political correctness is their Bible.
Yeah,
So
they did exist to a much lesser scale during the 60s and 70s. What you're saying
right,
right now did exist. So the left during the 60s and 70s was more for free speech. Yes.
of course,
But
up
the
until very recently, I'd say, even the last
yeah,
like
no, what I'm sorry, what
20
I'm
years.
leading up to is the fact that there were smaller groups that were like they are today. I'm saying that they were there,
Right.
radicals. If you've ever heard of the Weatherman Underground movement,
No.
um, and they was if you look that up, you'll see that's like the predecessor to Antifa. Very only they were more violent.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I'll check it out.
Weatherman Underground movements. They went one step further than Antifa, where they actually went around killing people outright. So,
Uh,
and a lot of people on the left actually still support those groups, and that's disgusting. And then there's also the Black Panthers. That would be like the early version of like say Black Lives Matter. So
Right, right. I'm aware of them. Yeah.
you probably heard the Black Panthers. That's usually more well
I
known.
have, yeah. Yeah, I
And a
have.
lot of people seem to have forgotten about the Weatherman Underground movement for some reason. I don't know why, because even the peace loving people like the anti-war people hated the Weatherman Underground movements. So they
Interesting.
tried to combine it and say they were the same, but they were not. They were definitely
Right.
not. So,
Different. Different.
so,
Um, okay.
so let's check we can check the question one more time before we.
Okay.
Thank you very much before we wrap up here. Got a few votes, not very many. 2 responses. There we go. Yes at 26%, no at 30%, and 44% with I don't care. That's the in the lead right now. Got a couple of responses. As someone wise once said, socialism is good until capitalism favors you, which is eventually going to happen. And any economic system can be good, but people need to know where the money is going and who has it. Corruption is the bad part. What's this? Not what the system is called. Okay, so there you go. 29 votes so far, and I am surprised that almost a third are at yes at this point. So actually, the yes is beating the no, which is also kind of surprising. So I kind of wish they would, when they did this, not break it down into percentages, maybe have percentages plus the actual number of votes, just to see, break it down, how many number of votes actually said yes and no instead of the percentage, just to see. But anyway, that is surprising.
We'll see what it turns out to be next week.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode number 16.
Woo!
Bye bye.